Have you ever had this happen to you where a leader's talking to you about having some kind of difficulties in accomplishing their goal? And the way they're talking, you're really wondering how aligned is their team to this goal? And so you ask them something like, so can you tell me how aligned is your team around this goal? Then the leader does something interesting. They start talking about their relationship with each of the team members. They're actually answering a different question. They're answering the question, how attuned are you to each team member? That's the question they're answering. So that they start describing, if they get along with this one, it's a lot easier to talk with that one. They find that it's easier to mentor this one as opposed to the other ones, which is not the question that you ask them. But getting along with a team member is not the same as having alignment. Hopefully, a leader has both emotional attunement and alignment from each of their team members, but those are two independent variables. And because you have one doesn't mean you have the other. You also may not have noticed at first that the leader was switching and answering about attunement rather than alignment. So it's important to learn how to see the distinction when you're in a conversation with a leader, because they've switched the question and the answer from alignment to attunement. This is how it gets mixed up. A leader starts talking about the goal and team member A, whose job is to work on the goal. Then they describe how easily they get along with team member A, which is great, but that does not guarantee that team member A is aligned with what needs to happen with the goal. The opposite could also be true. Let's say the leader is now talking about team member B, who they do not get along with. They hold different perspectives on many topics, and they have very different personalities that don't seem to mesh. Heck, they could have opposing astrological signs. That doesn't necessarily mean that team member B is misaligned with the goal. In fact, they may be totally on board with the goal that needs to be accomplished. The alignment question that needs to be answered is, are team members A and B committed to the goal? Do they partner with each other and collaborate with you around those goals? If the answer to those questions are yes, then that's alignment. So the leader needs to separate out personal likability and attunement from alignment and commitment. The same is true when the leader wants to think about team members A and B and whether they're aligned with each other around a goal that they need to work on together. Again, they don't need to be buddies in order to be aligned to the goal and to work together. It's nice if they are, but they don't need to be. They need to be committed to the goal and to work well together around that goal. And by the way, actually, they don't even have to be attuned or like the leader. They don't have to have the same sense of humor or communication styles or personal values or anything else that might tune people into each other. Or if those qualities aren't present, they will turn them off from each other. Tuned in is not necessary for alignment. They do need to be clear on what each other's roles are related to the goal and how their roles intersect with each other, what the collaborative expectations are to achieve those goals. Now, the leader may ask, but if they don't get along, or if I don't get along with one of them, how can they and we collaborate? Newsflash, humans can work well with others even if they don't like them, if they keep in mind the priorities of why they're working together in the first place, and hold themselves to certain standards of behavior. People don't have to change their personalities or personal preferences in friendships. They do need to get along enough to work together. And the leader can set important parameters about what working well together means. They can define specific collaborative behaviors that they expect A and B and themselves to do with each other, whether they feel naturally comfortable with them or not. For example, a leader might say, I expect you to keep each other informed of your side of the project. You should never learn what the other is doing from someone else. You need to talk directly to each other about any differences you have. You need to keep to the deadlines you promised each other. Everyone should be capable of doing those collaborative behaviors, whether they are best buddies or not. An ancillary issue here regarding the difference between relationship ease and alignment clarity is how the leader treats all their team members. Are they treating them the same, or because they feel more comfortable with A than with B, the leader almost subconsciously has more meetings with A, does more mentoring with them, has more spontaneous brainstorming sessions with them, while at the same time, the leader initiates very few conversations with B because they feel less emotionally attuned with B. No matter where a leader is in their relationship ease with their team members, they need to treat all their team members with equal backbone and heart balance, meaning equally clear and compassionate with all their team members. They need to make sure they are available to team members depending on the team members' needs, not the leader's comfort level with them. A good conversation to have with a leader who confuses relational ease with alignment and who may be avoiding some team members because they don't jive with them is to explore the obstacles. What keeps them from bringing full backbone and heart to team member B, and how can they give B what they deserve as a member of the leader's team? This developmental piece with the leader so that they can show equal backbone and heart with each team member actually has another team development side effect. To the extent that the leader considers any of the team members possible succession candidates for the organization, the leader needs to model and expect team members to treat each other with equal clarity and compassion, regardless of whether they naturally click with each other or not, because that's the kind of leader a successor needs to be when they get promoted. They might as well get started on that as soon as possible with their peers and the teams they lead. And they have seen what it looks like to be that kind of leader from their boss, who was able to do that with all the members of their team. So when leaders confuse alignment with attunement, this is a way for you to be able to talk with them and find a way into those conversations so that they can begin to see that these are two independent variables, which is great in terms of their leadership development because then they're much clearer and both of you can work more clearly on which one or both they need to work on, which then gives them a greater chance of success in each of those areas.